everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Did you push record this time?
I did.
Okay, good.
So we're actually live today.
Good. Thanks for joining us for our Thursday Shields Live, sticking with the quilting theme. But we're going to do, I think Jan's going to do borders. So show you different techniques on doing the different continuous borders. I'm assuming that's what we're doing.
Yeah, we're doing borders with the clear blue tiles.
With the clear. So there you go. Once again, a great day outside, a little warmer. We got the sale going on. Brother still has financing going on to Monday. Once again, I'm throwing in a little machine with the purchase. So
is it the 19th?
What's that?
19th.
Yes,
June 19th.
Yep, is the financing. So, but yeah, once again, thanks for joining us. I always appreciate the likes and comments. And have a great weekend. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. And I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks. See you.
Bye. All right. So we're going to do some quilting with the clear blue tiles, but we're going to do borders today. So, we did our little design. Let me get my little banner turned off here. Kind of wait for a few more people to come in. Sometimes people have trouble finding us, so I always like to wait a little bit before I start. So we're going to do some quilting on this little banner or that little wall hanging that we started last week. Okay, so I finished up doing the stippling and the decorative stitching in the blocks. So I finished that up last week, but then we needed to do the borders. So I decided we just talk about borders because I don't maybe do this the way it says in the book to use the clear blue tiles for the borders. I've been using the Kimberbell designs to do borders before they had the clear blue tiles. So I kind of have another little way that I do it. So I'm just going to show you a couple of different options. So maybe the more traditional option and then the way I do it. So hopefully that helps you. Unfortunately, I did choose black thread because I kind of wanted to finish this. It's really cute. And so you can't see the stitching too well, but if I hold it up to the camera, you'll be able to see it, the outline of the stitching. So, all right. So if you give me a second, we're going to do some marking and we're going to talk about the tiles a little bit. And we're going to do some marking over here at this table. And then I will move the camera over to the machine. So just a second here. Let me switch the cameras. All right, let's see here. Make sure I get the right microphone. There we go. Okay. So here's my little table topper. So the first thing we have to do, so let's talk a little bit first about the tiles. So when you get these tiles, and we used a tile that was like 8 by 12. Let's see, what did we use for the overall pattern? I think we used an 8 by 12 tile. So there are two sets of tiles. So this is my expansion set. I just have them out of the box. So that's my expansion set. And there's two baggies in each one. And this is my essentials set. Okay. Making sure that I can see. I'm going to move my computer over a little bit further so I can see. Okay. Then when you look at these tiles, though, they are somewhat different because one baggie says finished border and one baggie says, I don't know if you can see it very well on this one, finished block. Okay, so the block sizes, the baggie with the block sizes in it is more the size of traditional finished blocks. So like these blocks here in this little table topper turn out 4 inches finished. Okay. So they have like 2, 4, 6, 8 inch blocks. And then they're, square. Some of them are rectangular. So these are all, that's what the block ones are. So there's more of those, as you can see. And then the borders are a little bit more tied to the hoop sizes. So the borders, there's not as many sizes, and there's separate files for borders from blocks. So I'll show you that when we get into the we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the machine. But these are the borders then. And so these are going to be 7 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches, and 14 inches. So these are the smaller ones. So these are 7 and 10. And then in my expansion pack, my borders, I think this is the border ones. Let me see. Yeah, this is the border. So these are going to be 12 and 14. Okay. So in other words, the borders are more tied to your hoop sizes. You know, the tiles are more the sizes of the hoops, and the block files are the sizes of more traditional finished blocks on your topper. So I hopefully that makes sense to you. So since we're doing borders, we are going to use the border tiles. So I picked out a couple tiles. So what I do when I do these is I like to measure my borders and kind of see maybe what tile might be the least hoopings, you know, or the most economical for size and the least hoopings. So I kind of measured my little topper here, and it's about just shy of, just a hair over, I'm sorry, 20 inches, my border. The top and bottom borders are about 20 inches. I don't have corner blocks. So I don't have a corner block. I just have borders on this one. So that also means then my side borders, these borders over here, are a little shorter. So these borders are about 16 inches roughly. Okay, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways to do these. So I'm going to start with this main border that I said was 20. So I thought, oh, 20 inches. I can easily use the 10-inch tile then, because then that is going to be 2 hoopings. And I can get my goal with the borders is to get a full hooping. Like this tile will do the whole design, and this tile will do the second whole design. So there's just 2 hoopings for that border. So that turned out really cool that it matched up. Now the side border is a little different. So I'll show you what I did with that one. Okay. And I also want to measure my border because this finished border is 2 inches. It's 2 1/4 right now because it doesn't have the binding on it. So what you need to do is measure your width of your border and then the length, so you know what to do. So I just kind of do a little math in my head, and I decided to use the 2 by 10 inch tile for my top and my bottom border, and then we're going to talk about these side ones in a minute. Okay. So I'm going to turn this way, and I'm going to, so when I do borders, so often they're narrow like this. And I have this old border hoop that Brother and Baby Lock had. And I love this old hoop because it's kind of a clamping hoop. And I'm sorry, I had to sew a little bit of stabilizer on because they were kind of short. I had to sew a little bit of stabilizer in here just to give me a little something more to clamp onto. So this was like pieced out of like scraps, and so my backing was a little shorter than I wanted it to be. All right, so then I can just clamp this on. So this is a really cool border. So, but I do kind of need to work on the right hand side because you can see how it opens on the left, and I need to slide it into the right. So we're going to work by turning the topper around. Okay. All right, so let's just pull this out of here. And I also got the grid out, and I'll show you why I got that grid out too. I might even be able to fold this up a little bit more. I wasn't sure how much to cut off. So, all right. So we need to take just like we did with our other tiles when we were doing our overall pattern a couple weeks ago. This part we did with the design center, but remember we did the table topper with the little owl on it. It has owls on it now. But with the overall pattern, we're still going to need to mark our borders. So I have my finished border 2 by 10, and I determined that that's going to work really well. So I want to make sure that I have it stop in the center, and I'm going to kind of center it on my border here. And I want the center down here, I don't know if you can quite see it, to be where it ends. Now, since my fabric is black, I have two different marking pens here. I have my, I forgot my other pen, but I've got my Frixion pen that's blue. And then I've got one of these trio ones that Soline has. These are awesome because they have white, pink, and I think a blue tip, like a chalk tip in them. So these are nice. So if you don't know what color you need, you got all three of them in the same pen. And we have these up on our website, so they're pretty cool. So these work well for dark colored. And then the chalk, you just take a light, like a sponge, and I just dampen it and take it off. All right, so I'm going to mark this just like I did that other, the bigger block when we did the blocks and the overall pattern. And I need to get my center. Now, again, I'm going to minimally mark this. So I need my center here. And I'm going to mark this with my white because that shows up on the black better. Okay. And then I'm going to take the blue pen over here because I've got a white spot that I wouldn't be able to see it very well. So make sure I can see that. Okay. Now, since I'm not going this way or this way, I don't need to mark the edges. I want the center, but I am going to mark this little mark down here in the end that I always mark to help me line up the next one. Okay. And then we're also going to go this direction. So in this case, I am going to kind of put this little arrow on here so I remember which way I'm going. So there's the up. Okay. So there's our first marks. And then I'm going to line this up down here with this mark that I just made. So it's kind of ends in the center like that. And then I'm going to let me pull this up so you can see it. I have a little trouble with the camera because I have to put my arm through it. Okay, so we're going to go like this. We're going to line up that mark, kind of center it in the border, and then I'm going to mark down here. Mark a little polka dot in the center. Okay, and then I'm going to use my blue pen down here because I can't see it on the white. All right. Pardon me. So there is our two marks for the 2x10 finished border. Now those fit perfectly in there. We're going to do two hoopings and it'll be done. But now we're going to talk about this other border. Now this one I've done, so I'm going to turn this one upside down. This is the one I haven't done yet. So since this is kind of an odd size, it's 16 inches, and, I told you that I was going to use a 10. So to make it come out as evenly as possible, I thought, well, I could use a 10 and a 7. But see, the 7 then is a little too long, okay, down here. So you can use different sizes because what they do with these designs is they are scaled. So even though I'm using a 2-inch, a 2x10 and a 2x7, the designs are still the same size, so they fit together, okay? And I thought, well, the 2 and the 7 would work. So there's two ways to do this. And I don't, like I said, the way, I'm not sure exactly the way Kimberbell does them, but this is the way I've always used these. You can do a 10 and a 7, okay? And then you can mark the center of this and you can do the front. And then when it gets down to the end, because see, there's two seams here. There's a seam up here, right here. Okay, there's a seam where my border is. And there's a seam down here because I don't have a corner block. So I don't want to go over that seam line where my borders join. So I want my design to fit, just that 16 inches. So there's the one way I could do that is I could mark this one and mark this one. And then when I get down to the bottom of this one, I would just stop it before it got to the seam and just tie it off right there. That's one way to do it. You can just stop the design. But this one, I noticed when I started sewing it out, was a little bit, it had a definite start and stop point. It wasn't like the same little pattern over and over. So what I do often when I'm trying to figure out my odd size borders,
I sew these out on a piece of stabilizer, because what I like to do is take the tile and I mark the center and I mark the top and the bottom so that I can see. And that's why I sew them instead of just printing them out on a piece of paper. I like to see where the center is, and then I can see like how far from the top of the hoop the design starts and how far from the bottom it ends. So look, see this one, there's quite a bit of room in there. There's like probably almost a half an inch on the top and the bottom. So that's good, because then maybe we can get 2 full patterns, because as you can see, this one kind of starts at the top and actually has like an ending point. So it's not like the same little thing over and over, that it just kind of like randomly, it kind of stops. So it looks like a pattern. Okay. So when I looked at another one, I thought, well, then I could do the 2 and I could do the 7. So here's the 7-inch one. Now this one's closer to the top and the bottom of my actual design, is closer to the top and the bottom when I sewed that out. So I know though that this, I measured it and I think it's about 3/8 of an inch. So let me see here. It's just shy of a ½ inch. So I thought, well, I might be able to like scoot this all up a little bit so I could get both of these in the same, both full patterns. So I'd have the little tail at the end, because I've got a little bit of wiggle room here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 10-inch one. I'm going to kind of lay this on here so I know where I'm at. And I'm going to move this up. Yeah, that's where, yeah. So it's about 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to move this tile up over that seam line up here. Okay, let me pull it down a little bit so you can see it. And I'm going to move that up a little bit. So I've got a little ruler here and see if I can get it lined up about 3/8 of an inch or so up. Because that way I know that I'm going to still get my full candy corn right about to where my seam is. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get that all kind of lined up here. 3/8, and I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit to give me a little bit of wiggle room. Okay. So I think I'm going to put that one there. So let's mark this one. Now I will put the little arrow so I know which way's up here. And then mark this one. So see what I did is I'm kind of cheating it a little bit. This one I was able to do that. Some of them you just can't because they're too long. Like if you're going to use a 12-inch or 14, you just have to stop it at the bottom. But I kind of wanted the pattern to end because this one kind of has more of a pattern. So I wanted my pattern to end. So that's why I decided to try it this way. Then I'm going to go this direction. And I know my pattern is going to end. We got that one about where we wanted. Whoops, let me mark that end part just a second here. You put that back on there. I'm going to mark this end one down here. So hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm trying to watch the camera. It's behind me, or the computer is behind me. So let's mark that. But then I want to make sure that this ends like around here. So then I can pull this one up also, because see this one, if I've got the center about right here, see if I can find my center with my actual template that I kind of printed out or sewed out. Then I know I can pull this up. See, I've got some space here and I've got some space here. So I can pull this up and look. See, I can pull this up and I can put the tail. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to put the tail, this little tail that's down here, okay? This little tail that's down here, I want it kind of down right on the seam. So I know it's going to be about, so I'm looking at the size here and it looks like it's about maybe about a little over 1/4 inch. So I can basically put that, I'm just going to lay that on my, on my little seam there. Okay. And I'm going to move that up, and I want to move this little, I want this to move up so that I have it, actually I'm moving it down, I'm sorry, moving it down a little bit. And I want to move it, I know where the center is, so I think this is going to match up pretty well. Okay, so I know I want to put it about right in there, and it's going to be about 1/8 of an inch or so above, 1/4 of an inch above the bottom, or below the bottom. So we're going to bring it down a little bit like this. And then we're going to bring this in like that. And I think that'll work. Because this one is going to come down and end about right in here. And then this one's going to start about right here. But we just had to move these down a little bit and bring them in so that I could squeeze those two and make them 16 inches. It was just enough that I can get them on here. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and mark this one here. I just did a little bit, and I don't know if Kimberbell does this or not, but this one had kind of a, and I see a question about where I got the design. Give me a second here to mark this, and then I'll tell you where I got the design. So, but this one had kind of a tail on it, and I wanted it to match up. So if we want to measure it again, I'm just going to find my little lines, and then this one here, it's going to match up about right there, and see they're just going to come and just barely touch each other, and that way I can get the whole thing in to my border. Okay, and that's how I did it, is I just kind of looked at it and I made these little templates so I could kind of tell where things were going to be. And this one will kind of be there, and the seam is right there, so it's going to start just below the seam, and then this one is going to be about right, because I mark the centers just like I do on the template or on the tile, like this. And then I can tell that my little tail is going to end down here, and then my little, my other little flower with the candy corns is going to start just below the tail here, because that way I can, because these had more of a beginning and end. A lot of their designs, and I'm going to turn this up so you can see this a little bit with the camera. But a lot of their designs have don't really have a beginning and an end on their borders. They're more open, so they're not like a beginning and an end. Okay, so I got those marked. So I actually ended up using a 10 and a 7, but I scooched them up together so that they'll fit in my 16-inch border. You can't always do this. You might just have to, if you don't want to do all the messing around I did, just line this up, mark it, and then do this one and mark it. And then when you get down to the seam allowance, just stop. You just stop your machine, tie it off right there, and then it won't go down into the other border. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, because I just kind of play around with it until I get it the way I want it. But it does help to to sew these out on a piece of, like this was just tearaway stabilizer. I just sewed them out last night so I could see them, so I knew where I was going to end up. Okay, so this one I kind of wanted it to be, you know, fit in there, because it really kind of had a beginning and an end. Okay, so we got these marked. Okay, and we're going to start with this one. So let's start with the easy one first. So I'm going to hoop this real quick, and then I'll answer your questions when I get turned around here so I can see the computer better. I did put the, you noticed I put the, I love this old hoop. It's only 4 inches wide though, so you can't do very big borders in it, but I like to lay the little grid in here so that I know that I'm okay size-wise. Okay, so then I can also tell if I'm fairly centered. So like here is the center of the hoop, and I've got my mark there, so I know I'm relatively centered. Okay, in this hoop, and this is a 4 by 12. And I'm just going to clamp this down because it has these little clampy things on it, and it's awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to clamp that down, and then we'll put our snowman on to do the actual centering. But that way I know I've got it pretty close. Okay, so let me move the camera so that we can work on the sewing machine here. So hopefully I won't make anybody dizzy. Just move it over a little bit. Then I can answer a couple of your questions. I couldn't read them very well because I had my back to the computer. Yeah, the border hoop is pretty cool, Maureen. It is kind of expensive. That's the only thing. There's two of them. There's one that is, sorry, I'm having trouble with getting this tightened. There we go. There's two of them. There's a 4x7 and a 4x12. And if you only want to buy one, just buy the 4x12. Because you can use it for the shorter stuff too. All right. So then another question was, where is the pattern from? Okay, so this particular pattern was not one in the Essentials kit, like not in the Clear Blue Tiles kit. This one is one that you have to go to kimberbell.com into their quilting area and get. And this one is called, I just thought it was neat because I like the candy corns. This one's called Borders Halloween 2. So they have designs that are borders, and they always say borders first. Those are for borders. They're set up for, like, 2x7, 2x10, 2x12, 2x14, and such. Okay, and so they always say borders on them. The other ones are ones that are made for blocks. Okay, so you do need to make sure you're buying borders, because those are going to be made differently than the block files are. Okay, so this was called Borders Halloween 2 because I wanted a Halloween one, and this is that cute little one. And I'm going to go to Embroidery Files, maybe if I can get my finger to work, and Clear Blue Tiles. So we're using Clear Blue Tiles. Okay, and I'm going to go in, and the one I chose was 2x10. We're going to do the top border first. So the 2x10 is right here, and that's the 2" by 10" one, and that's the one that we chose for the top and bottom border, because that was the full one. Okay, so we're going to do 2 of those on that top border, and you can see that it's not quite 10 inches long, but it's going to fill the area fine. So I'm going to hit set. Okay, now we're going to bring our design in, or we're going to bring our hoop in here. We've already got it hooped fairly close to center. And I'm going to put my snowman on. So I'm going to put my little snowman sticker on here on the center. And if you don't have a snowman, that little grid that I had in here, you can get that lined up with this grid, and you can get it pretty much centered, and then finish centering it by dropping your needle to the center. So that's the way the old traditional hooping works. It's fine. It works just fine. But it is kind of fun when you have these little gadgets to use them. So I like to use my snowman. I use my snowman a lot. Okay, so we're going to put this in. Okay, and you can see I'm a little off, but we can fix that with the snowman. So I'm going to hit embroidery over here. And I have black Pima cotton thread in my needle and in my bobbin. And I'm going to go to layout, and I'm going to go to the little snowman guy, and I'm going to click scan and OK. So the top and the bottom border were really easy. It was those side ones, I wanted to trick it and make it be more, make it fill better. Because after I saw the design, I'm like, oh, it really looks like it starts and stops. So in a minute, I'm going to put the camera up so you can see one that's right above my machine here. That is not like that. It was more of a general pattern that repeated, and so I could stop it and have it not look strange. Okay, so remove the embroidery positioning mark. Got it all lined up. I'm going to pull my snowman off, and we're off and running here. We're going to sew our little border, and it's going to kind of start and then work its way up. But with this one we didn't have to, do any kind of fixing or anything, because the 2 10" tiles work really well. And then when you put the binding on, you're not going to notice any gaps or anything. So it actually worked out really well. I was surprised I actually had 2 borders that were pretty much the same size. So this is kind of the way I've always used this. Okay. So while this is sewing, let me show you this other design. So I'm going to bring this up. And I'm hoping that you can kind of see. I didn't take it down off the wall. But this one is done with a similar pattern here. I'll take the camera up so it's a little closer. So this one was one that I just used the same size pattern over and over, and I rehooped it. And at the end here, I don't know if you can see, but the pattern kind of doesn't really end anywhere. This one was a little more general. So see, I just stopped it right at this point right here. And I did the same thing here when I did this. So these kind of patterns work better for stopping it. You can just use the same size tile all the time and then just stop it when you get to where you want to stop. But this one actually had more of a starting and stopping point. So it depends on your design. So look at your design, your border design when you get them in the machine, or you can sew them out. Because sew them out on a piece of card or on a piece of stabilizer or something to help you. All right, so I think we got it done. So there's our first part of our border. So this little hoop is cool because then it's got these little, I can get back up, these little buttons on the top and the bottom. I'm just going to pull these up and then I'm going to shift it down. And then here's the second part of our top border. That was, you know, the two 10-inch tiles. So I'm going to put my snowman on here. Okay. And again, this is more like custom quilting. You know, we're going to be kind of quilting, kind of custom. And this one, I have to be a little careful because it's not going to hoop very well at the bottom, but it is hooping on the sides now, so it should be okay. So I'm going to kind of get it close to the center. And then I'm going to push this down. Make sure it's fairly, I got to push both sides down. Oh, got to reach that one. Okay. And make sure they're fairly snug, and hopefully it's not too crooked. This hoop is kind of narrow, so if it gets kind of crooked, then it's hard to, it wants to like twist in the hoop, so it pops out. So this is only 4 inches. All right. Okay, I do all these little borders in here. So we need the same design that we just did, but we're going to line it up with our snowman again. Okay. Get my snowman and hit scan over here. But yeah, I was surprised when I saw this and I sewed it out and I'm like, oh gosh, it actually kind of looks like it ends and starts. So I thought I probably better not just stop it because it might look weird. It's going to be in black, so I don't think it would have shown that much, but it might have looked weird there. So that's why I did it this way. Because with my luck, it would have been black thread on the white fabric right in that spot. And then I would have said, well, that looks weird. So anyway, that's why we're going to do it this way. But the top and bottom borders, I'm doing just with the two 10-inch ones. So sometimes I'll use the 12-inch ones. Let's say I have a 24-inch table topper. Well, then I could use the two 12-inch ones. It says remove the embroidery positioning marker. Awesome. So we got that all lined up. And we're going to do this one. Okay, oops, hopefully there we go. And we're going to do this one. So it's going to start kind of up towards the other one. There's going to be a little gap in these, about like this. This is the way this particular pattern is. There's a little gap in between them, and that's fine. We're not going to have quite as much gap on the side though. So while this is sewing, we'll see, watch this. So it doesn't take very long. It's like 1 minute. But the borders that were in with the clear blue tiles are actually, there was nothing that was like Halloween. It was like loops, and there was swirls and loops, and I think there's 3 border files, but none of them were really kind of Halloween looking. And so I wanted a Halloween one. So this is one that you have to go buy from Kimberbell. So they have tons of designs, all different, you know, categories, all different. I mean, there's just tons of them. And you can go get ones that are more, you know, specific to your quilt, whatever you're doing. But I thought this one was cute. I just got this one not too long ago. This one's one of the newer ones. So it's doing the second. So like this one, you probably can't see it sewing very well, but this is the one we're sewing. So this one only had 2. And then, but it's going to still end with the little loop down here because I got it. It's going to end down here. Actually, no, I'm sorry, we're doing this one. So this one had 3. This is the 10. So this is the 3. And then it has the little loop at the end. So the loop will be down here. And then we'll make sure that we've got the other one where we want it before we do the sewing. So then the loop is there. So see, it kind of ends. This one kind of ended. Okay, so there's that. So we got the top border done. Okay, so then when I work with these, I usually turn them this way because, you know, I have to clamp it into the frame this way. You have an affiliate link for other designs? Yes. So the affiliate link is on the website, but I will post it in the YouTube channel, in the YouTube description, and also on this video. I will put our link up there because Kimberbell gives us a little, you know, like a little stipend for you buying designs from their website for us. So anyway, I'll get that up there on there for you so you can click on it. Okay, so now this one is that short, weird one. So we're going to look at this, make sure we got it where we want it. So I did this last night. I wanted to make sure I got it because I made a mistake and I had to pick out my stitches. So this is our design that we chose, the top one, the 10-inch one, okay? And there is where we made our mark. So I'm just going to make sure I got my mark about where I wanted it. Let's see here. It's right about there. So that looks good. And then see, when I look this up, it's going to be just about at the, I might need to move it up a little bit. I'm not sure. Let me see if I got this right. I have a little trouble with these sometimes. I have to sometimes I mark them twice. Let me get this in here. And let's see. I might have to move my sticker up just a smidge. Let's see here. Let's see how I did. No, I think I'll be okay there. I think I'll be okay there. All right, so that's good. And then the little one down here, let's measure it again. So here's our marks. Let me get my mark. That's why I like to sew them out, because then I can kind of tell where everything's going to land. So this is this one. Let's make sure. So this was the 7-inch one, but we're going to move it a little bit so that it fits in our border. Like this. And let's see if it comes down. So this one's going to come down a little bit lower than I wanted it, but I can move this one up a little bit too, I think. So I might move this one up just a smidge too. I think I was just a little off, but I think we'll be all right. So let's see. Let's put our snowman on. Where'd he go? Here he is. Okay, so this one's going to be the 10-inch. We're going to start with the 10-inch one. And I am going to move it up just a smidgen, because I noticed that I was just a little bit lower than I wanted to be. So let's just move it up just a smidgen. Maybe about 1/8 of an inch. Like that. Okay. I'm going to loosen my hoop. And we'll tuck this under so it fits in here better. Slide it in. I love this old hoop. It is really handy for little borders. You know, a lot of the borders are too big for it, but I still use it quite a bit for the small ones. Make sure I got this straight. I don't think I got very straight here. There we go. All right, so I'm going to kind of get this, and we're still got the 10-inch one in here, so we're going to start with that one first. Kind of get it close to being centered, and I'm not got to be pretty straight in these. That looks pretty good. All right, so I'll clamp this down. Make sure it's in there. So I just sewed a little bit of stabilizer over here just to give it something to hang on to, because I had a little, I didn't do that last night, and it was a little upset a couple times. So it is easier if you have a little something to grab onto. Okay. I like to have on these, I like to have at least 3 or 4 inches all the way around, because then you have something to clamp onto. And this was all scraps, so I didn't have quite that much fabric. So that's why it's short. Okay. So I moved this up just a little bit closer to the top. We're going to hit our little snowman over here. Yes, this is good if you're wanting to do borders. Yeah, I mean, I do love this old hoop. It's a little on the expensive side. I can't tell you the prices online because they're like those Brother and Baby Lock have a thing about some stuff, so I don't tell prices online. But you can text me or personal message me, and I'll tell you because I can still get it. It's an older hoop. I mean, it's been out for quite a long time. I want to say, I bet you a good. Came out with the Luminaire. No, it came out with the Quattro. So it's been since 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. So it's been out quite a long time. So remove the embroidery positioning mark. So we got our first 10-inch one. So we're going to see. So this is, again, this is that weirdo border that we're kind of tucking it in so that it all fits. Okay. All right. So let's see how we did. So we're starting kind of down here, and then it's going to go up. So let's see if I got it within my little border. I hope so. See how we did. It's doing pretty well. And of course, there's a white ghost right there, so it's going to show if I missed it. Sometimes I have to pick out my stitches when I do this, but I did last night. I had forgotten to sew out my templates so that I could look at it a little bit closer. Ooh, okay, we're about this far from the top, so that's good. Just a little teeny bit, about 1/8 of an inch. I think we're good. Because that means I moved it up about 1/2 an inch. All right, so it looks like we're going to make it. It's nicely going down the center because it turned it. I noticed that that my border's a little turned on the screen because the snowman turned it a little bit for me. But this is kind of fun. So have fun with these because, and do a little bit of math in your head. Like I said, the one that I showed you with the little hearts on it, that one doesn't really have a pattern that starts and stops. A lot of the borders don't, but this border kind of started and stopped. So I wanted it to start and stop so that it didn't look funny at the end where I stopped it. I just did the hearts and I just stopped it when it got to my seam. I just stopped it and tied it off. But this one, I didn't know that it would look right doing that. So this is going to do the 3. Here comes the little tail. Okay, so there's our little tail. Okay. All right, so let's see if we did okay. So I'm going to look at my next one with my template here and see if I did okay. So let's see how we did. And I checked this, a couple times while I'm working with it. All right, so let's look at this. So here is our little tail, and I've got my center mark here. So let's see what it looks like. So here's the center mark, and let's put it down here, and then let's see where our little tail. Ooh, there's about this much, about 1/8 of an inch between. I think we'll be okay. And then when it comes down here, it's going to come right on the seam. I think I might be able to move it up just a smidge. So we'll try moving it up just a smidge from this line. Again, that's why I like to print them out, because then I can tell if I'm about where I want to be. So let's move this up just a smidgen above the lines. See if we can pull it up just a little teeny bit. So get it marked in there. Put my snowman on like that. And for those of you who have like stellaires and Altaires and all that kind of stuff, you would just need to be doing this in a regular hoop with your camera, with the app. And it's not hard to do it with that app because it would give you really good results also. But when you have the camera built in, it is really nice. Okay, so we're going to move this up. So it's going to go in about right in here. See if we can get it fairly centered. And I did move my snowman up just a hair, just to give me a little bit more wiggle room at the bottom here. And I'm going to pull this bottom down so that it's snapped in the hoop well. Okay. Yeah, the stabilizer really helped because then I don't have to worry about the ends coming out. So, okay. So let's see how we did. So now, remember, this is a 7-inch design. So I have to replace this one. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go back to my stick And this time I'm going to use my 2x7" border. Clear Blue Tiles. And 2x7. Nope, that's the ones. Here's the 2s. 2x7 is the one I'm using. Okay, I'm going to hit set. So see, it's not quite 7. It's only about 6.5 inches long. So I'm going to hit embroidery. And again, we moved our snowman up just a little bit, just to see if we can move it up just a little closer. And I'm going to use my snowman and scan and see if we can get this one done. And then we'll have the whole border done. Yeah, this border hoop is cool. There's the older one, the original one, came out actually a long time ago with the 4000D, because it was only 7 inches long. So the original one was only 4x7, and I use that for little teeny short stuff. But I like this one because I use the 12-inch one most of the time. All right, so it says remove the embroidery positioning mark. So let's see how we did. Hopefully Jan won't have to pluck any stitches out like I was doing last night. All right, let's see how we did. See if we got it kind of in here. So we'll see. So it's going to start, and then it moves up. So this one only has 2 little candy corns on it, but it still has, see, the tail at the end. So it's got 2 candy corns and a tail. I really like this design. I thought, oh, I really want to use this one. So we still might eke over onto this little border a little bit, but I think it won't. I think it'll be fine. We'll see what happens here. So there's the second one. But it's kind of fun to make, to make things work the way you want it to look. And this is why this is more like custom quilting. So you can use the tiles to help you, but I still sometimes sew them out so I know where things are going to land when I use my tiles. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see if we got down here and didn't get over too far. Yep, it's just going to just barely go over the edge. So it did just like 1 stitch over the edge, but it's okay. It didn't hit my other candy corns over here, so that's all I care about. Okay, so that can you see it right here? It did go over just a little teeny bit, but it didn't touch my candy corns over here, so nothing touched. Okay, so let me show you the other side so you can see what I did on the other side, because it was close too. But it worked really well, and then I was able to get it in and get both the patterns. Okay, so this is the first one I did. So you can see here, can you see here where it went over just a touch right there? But it didn't touch my candy corns. And then when I look in the middle here, here's the top of the candy corn, right? It's really hard to see. So there's the bottom of the tail, and here's the top of the candy corn, like right here. So they're about a 1/4 of an inch apart. Okay. So I was happy to be able to do that. And that I just wanted to show you, because like I said, I've used these quite a while without the tiles, the designs, and I kind of do them without the tiles, but I always just make the little templates up like this. And then I could tell where they were going to land and where I wanted to start and stop. If you don't want to mess with all the stuff we did today, just put the 10-inch one on and then the 7-inch one, and just watch it as it's sewing. And when it gets down to the end, it's going to be about 1 inch over. Just stop it right there at that seam allowance, tie it off, and then it'll just won't have the tail on the end. Okay, because that's perfectly acceptable. And that's the way I usually do them if they're a little bit more general. All right, so there's our little table topper. I got all the borders done. So here's the top border that we just did. Can't see it very well. I wish you could see it better. Here's the back. You can see the little candy corns on there. I kind of wanted black though, so that's why I put the black in there. And then I'll take my marks off. The little chalk marks, I use a little sponge and just dampen it a little bit. And then the other ones I can iron off. These are there's some blue ones that I'll have to iron off, but I'll do that. And then I'm going to put some binding on it, and it's all done. Isn't that a cute little wall hanging? And we did this all in just different types of quilting. So I thought it was fun. So this one we did custom quilting on Design Center, custom quilting borders with the clear blue tiles. And we also did an overall pattern with clear blue tiles this month. So I feel like we got a lot of different quilting options done this month. Okay, so let me switch my camera over. Looks like my camera decided to go out of focus for a moment. Let me put this one up instead. There we go. All right. So are there any other questions?
If you want I'll put the link to the clear blue tiles also in the description, and I'll put the link, our affiliate link, in the description. The pens, I use those. I like those Nifty Notions heat away pens. And I'll put the other video links in there too. So if you didn't get to see the first two, I could put the other two links, and then you can watch those. Okay, so next week we will not have class. Next week is the 23rd, 24th, something like that. Let me look at my calendar here. So next week we will not have Shields Live. It is the 22nd. Okay, so the 22nd we will not have class. And June happens to have 5 Thursdays. So we will actually not have class for 2 weeks. So we will have class. The next class on Shields Live will be July 6th. Okay, so it's right after the 4th of July that we'll have it. So that's the 22nd is next week. We're having a retreat. So if you'd like to come and sew for a couple of days at the store here in Iowa City or in Davenport, we're having a 2-day retreat, the 22nd and the 23rd of June. So next Thursday and Friday, and it's 10 to 5 each day. So that's going to be next week. And then on the 29th, we will not have class because it's the 5th Thursday. So we always take the 5th one off. Okay. So the next one then will be in July 6th. So right after the 4th of July. So everybody have a wonderful 4th of July holiday. Come, if you want to come to the retreat, sign up. It's up on the website. You can just go to the classes and sign up for it. It's $10 for the 2 days to come and visit us and just come and do some sewing. So, okay. So thank you very much. We'll be seeing you in a couple of weeks. Can you believe it's like only 2 weeks to it's like 2 weeks till 4th of July. It's just a little over 2 weeks to 4th of July. Isn't that amazing? So anyway, so I will see you in a few weeks, almost 3 before we have a class. And then we will have a new theme for July. I haven't decided if there's anything particular that you're interested in seeing. And I like to do a theme for the month. Let me know if there's something you would like to do. I was thinking about scan and cut. So we might even have a scan and cut month. So that might be the July. We might do scan and cut. That's something and then if there's anything else you're interested in, let me know. And I'll get it on the docket. So thanks everybody. Have a great day.